Welcome back to the party, everybody. I'm your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Everybody hit that like and subscribe. You know I would do it for you. And let's party. Shout out to a bat shit crazy. Welcome to the party. We also got HR Death Poet in the building. Welcome. Very good to see you guys. And yes, another Sunday stream for you guys. Love to come to you from the bedroom. And there was a podcast that I kind of wanted to cover and I kind of didn't want to cover, but shout out to Jake Rattlesnake, who covered it and did it in a shorter version. So we're gonna go through that, and because we had to cover Hasan on Triggernometry, but I'm glad that we don't have to go through the entire thing. What is HR Death Poet saying? Jesus fucking Christ. That's right. That is right. Welcome. So we're going to dive right into the video. As always, guys, if you cannot hear the video, please do let me know. Play.
These are forces that are very directly working with the United States of America that have tried to facilitate coups. Everyone becomes American.
That's not true in the UK, though, unfortunately. So if you look at, for example...
I know you won't agree with me on this.
It's not about whether I agree, it's about whether the facts agree with you.
I don't think that's the case.
Hold on.
Well,
let me just give you some facts then. If like we...
Yeah, but America, bro, like, America is America. And, like, America is, like, that's the way, bro, like, America.
We have a terrorist attack on a monthly basis.
Welcome back to Rattlesnake TV, guys. I absolutely had to cover this video. Hasan Piker recently went on Triggernometry and he made some pretty outrageous claims. And I mean, it's interesting to watch Hasan doing a somewhat contentious interview. I mean, they could have definitely given him a tougher time, but fair enough, you want to be respectful to your guests. So I would like to see him do some actual debates, because the best way to kill an idea or to prove yours is to demonstrate the truth of your claims through debate.
Yeah, and I mean, Hasan is never going to do an actual debate ever. The last time he did a debate was with some guy who just does like drama content within like the leftist Twitch Destiny space, and the guy called him out and was like, "Yo, you're full of shit," basically. And so he called him on to debate. And this guy's not a debater; he's just a slap tuber, as they call him. And he got wrecked. It's sad. HR Death Poet said, "You can play the leper. I will play the healer. Do it. All right, diving back in here."
Anyways, that is a side note. With that, let's get into the first portion.
Hasan, I've got a lot of empathy for some of your positions, particularly when you talk about low skilled labor. So for context, my mother is a Venezuelan immigrant to the UK. When she was in the UK, she was a childminder. There was no minimum wage. My mum, roughly, I remember earning £2.20 an hour. There were no pension rights. So thankfully, like, I helped my parents out. My dad helps my mum out, so she's not destitute. But that's what my mum's position would be if she didn't have me or my father. As somebody who is from Venezuela, I worry when people mention socialism because I've seen what's happened to my country.
Bro, Hasan's gonna come in and be like, "Bro, like, you don't actually understand, okay? You think that socialism is bad because you lived under it, but you don't actually know what it says in this book about socialism being amazing." Shout out to Mr. Andrew. Welcome to the party. Very good to see ya. We are checking out Hasan being a little weasel. Welcome. Again, guys, if you do me a huge favor, hit that like button or double tap the screen if you're on vertical. It really does help out so very, very much.
How would you assuage the fears of people like me or people who come from a Cuban background who've seen the socialist dream, as it were, descend into authoritarianism?
You gotta watch my streams, bro. You gotta watch my streams. You don't understand. Like, you think you know because of what the government propaganda tells you, but if you watch my streams, bro, then I got you. Shout out to Angry Amputee. Welcome to the party. Very good to see ya.
Well, first and foremost, I would say that all countries to varying degrees engage in authoritarianism in general.
I'm just gonna buy myself a little bit of time. Everything is a country, and a country has things, and a culture is very important to a country. What was the question again?
All countries to varying degrees engage in authoritarianism in general. It's just something that it's a function of the government. It obviously has the capacity to get out of hand due to external factors in many instances, like combating much more powerful forces that want to cause instability in your country. It's not a justification for it, but it is analysis in terms of like why these guys engage in the actions that they do in terms of.
I'll give anyone $100. $100 if you can break down what he just said and make it sound like an actual thing. Because there was a bunch of words there, but I don't think he actually said anything. And guys, a big thank you both on the vertical stream and on the landscape. We have full likes. We got 4 people and 4 likes, or 3 people and 3 likes. As you guys are coming in, please keep those numbers up. Thank you. We was Templars and shit. Welcome to the party. Very good to see you guys. Don't forget, we do have Morty here. Remember, every single donation comes with a treat for Morty. And if we hit that swole goal of 15 donations or a total of $50, then Morty gets a special treat. Welcome to the party. Said I like hit before you even went on both, before we even went live. There we go. We was Kangs. Welcome. The Charlie Brown's teacher voice? Yeah, that's pretty much Hasan. Just socialism. America bad. Shout out to Mikey Bears. Welcome. Said I'm half Turkish. He is an embarrassment. I'm not from Turkey. American and Catholic. Yes, weird for a Turk, but he sucks. Indeed, he does. Welcome. Shout out to David Peak. Welcome to Santa Claus and shit. Very good to see you guys. Mr. Andrew said, I think he's saying governments use their authority to use force and create and sustain stability. Okay, I'll take that. So let's run that back and let's see if Mr. Andrew can speak this wild language of Hasan
to cause instability. Due to external factors in many instances, like combating much more powerful forces that want to cause instability in your country. It's not a justification for it, but it is analysis in terms of like why these guys engage in the actions that they do in terms of.
All right, I'll take it. I mean, you worded it better than Hasan did. So cheers to you on that one.
Of suppression of all dissent, or even censorship, and sometimes even jail time. And the example I always use is the United States of America, not only in the Cold War, but even preceding the Cold War during World War I and World War II, actually had a practice of jailing all conscientious objectors, for example, who said, I don't want to fight in this war. They were like, all right, well, this is a world war, sucks to suck, you're going to jail. One of the famous examples is Eugene Debs.
Maybe Mr. Andrew, but not for me.
A socialist who actually ran from prison. And I think achieved like 1.3 million votes at the time, which was probably the most electoral success socialists had ever achieved. He was a conscientious objector of World War I, which
I don't know, Angry. I feel like there's probably a lot of tests being pumped into Hasan because we know that he ain't working out on the reg. Oh shit, I did say that. Fuck, I did say that. All right, I did say that. All right, send me your Cash App. I did not expect anybody to be able to do that. Send me your Cash App, and as soon as the stream is over, I'm a man of my word. Half of the money I made yesterday, but that's totally fine.
Was the international Marxist position at the time. There was some deviation there. So I see it in a similar vein when these countries also engage in authoritarian actions, suppressing dissent, censorship, or trying to manage this dynamic of trying to continue doing governance while at the same time they have to like make sure that they're avoiding American intervention or Western intervention in general. As far as the fears that people have, assuaging the fears that people have in terms of what they've seen in their countries, whether it be Venezuela or Cuba, I think each country is different. Each successful.
Brilliant analysis. Every country is different. Wow.
Successful and unsuccessful revolution is different. And I think it's important to understand the lessons and
Haram!
the failures, as well as some of the areas of success that these
Okay, so how about you talk a little bit about those successes and those failures that you're talking about, instead of just vaguely alluding to them as if you know what you're talking about, when doesn't sound like you do.
countries have been able to implement. Avoid the failures and try to focus on the successes, and hopefully you'll be able to have a long-standing and relatively happy form of governance.
I mean, I take your point as to the conscientious objector, but you look at Venezuela, for example, and then the reason I'm using it is because that's the example I know best.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, if I had to guess where he's going to go with this, is like, okay, yeah, I get the idea of the conscientious objector and being an individual in the face of an establishment, whether it's an authoritarian fascist establishment or whatever. That is, that's an interesting dynamic, but that's not really the main concern when we talk about the broad generalizations of why socialism doesn't work. It's not about these little instances. You can find little instances of socialism working for an individual, but that's not the purpose of what we're doing here. The purpose is to run a society. All right, send me your Venmo.
you've got rigged elections. You've got politicians who go up against Maduro. They're either thrown in jail, as in the case of Leopoldo Lopez, solitary confinement for 2 years, or you have, I think it's Corina Machado, who got nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize, but she is currently in hiding in her own country because she knows the moment that her whereabouts are known, she's going to get thrown into jail, may not be seen again.
Yeah, like that's exactly what I mean. The conscientious objector. Like, no. Shout out to Jennifer Hart, aka Arrow. Start us off strong with a $2 make you holla. Said you gotta have a strong pimp hand for a munchkin. There we go. Thank you so very, very much. And of course, guys, every single donation comes with a treat for Morty. Trying to get him on the vertical one as well. Oh, you're moving. There we go. Thank you so very, very much. Oh my goodness, he is enjoying it so much. Thank you. Very, very, very much appreciated. And of course, that makes you the new sponsor of the stream. Thank you so very, very much. Of course, adding to the Morty Memorial Fund, guys, we are almost at $900. That is our, I got to update this, our first super chat out of 15, not 20, and $2 out of 50 to get Morty his special treat and make me do some push-ups for these puny little arms. Look at vertical people. Look at it. It's tiny. I need your help. Thank you so very, very much. Let's dive right back in.
Peace Prize, but she is currently in hiding in her own country because she knows the moment that her whereabouts are known, she's going to get thrown into jail, may not be seen again.
Yeah. I'm not going to defend Maduro, but I would say that the logical through line, and it's important to understand the opposition's logical through line in this instance, is that these are forces that are very directly working with the United States of America, that have tried to facilitate coups, even had an unsuccessful one all the way back in 2002 with Chavez, and numerous other instances, openly talked about implementing coups under the first Trump administration, and is openly now waging war, or at least threatening to wage war with Venezuela right now.
Opening or waging war and threatening to wage war are two very different things. So notice how the semantic obfuscation, well, they're warlords, they're at war, they're hurting everybody. Well, but I mean, they're threatening to hurt everybody.
Circling the entire coastline of Venezuela with some of the most sophisticated weaponry known to man. In that regard, I think they see it as treason. I would go so far as say, in a similar scenario in the United States of America, I think, and this is not even a one-to-one dynamic because America is the most powerful nation on the planet, but China is getting up there, right? Let's see if China had, if in a hypothetical, if China had encircled the United States of America and let's say in this hypothetical,
He'd still probably be like, well, I mean, it's China and America bad, so, let's just give him America. Shout out to Malakath. Welcome. Said Hasan's a pedo. I thought that was Destiny. Oh, wait, that is both. Welcome to the party. We also got CPT. Welcome. Very good to see you. USA. Nope, TikTok is amazing. And one of these days, you guys will realize how right I actually am. Again, you guys watch these YouTube shorts and you're like, oh man, this sucks. I know. Get on TikTok. It's way better. But another conversation for another day. You boomer-minded motherfuckers. I get it. You don't want to do anything new. But I'm telling you, it is what it is. Oh, let me fix that banner. Jesus Christ, I'm fucking up over here. All right, I'm back in.
Hypothetical, if China had encircled the United States of America, and let's say in this hypothetical, I'm like very clearly someone who is going to China and talking to the CPC and...
The CPC? The CPC. You mean the CCP?
And saying like, we want Chinese intervention in this country because I hate Donald Trump, please.
I mean, kind of like you've been doing for the last 2 weeks in China. For those of you who don't know, he took a trip to China and basically was doing all of that. Mr. Andrew said, didn't TikTok USA get taken over by the US government? So no, ByteDance is it's still an American-based company, but it's still owned by China. Hopefully they do sell it to an American based and owned company, because the algorithm really is so much better. And the reason that everybody who doesn't have TikTok hates TikTok is because everything that they see of TikTok is people being like, look at how horrible this thing is that I saw on TikTok, i.e. libs of TikTok. But no, well, that's the hope. But again, it's just so good at showing you what you want to see, what you didn't know that you want to see, and it's just very good at, what if you swipe faster on something, okay, we won't show you that much. But I'll that's my hill to climb. I will climb that hill and one day get you guys to understand that TikTok is the one. Shout out to Dammers in the building. Welcome to the party. CBT said, Hasan forgets all the people USA saved, like in Kosovo. I don't know if he forgets or, yeah, sounds like he's taking PCB. I don't know if he forgets or if he purposely avoids that so that he can have this anti-American just vibe. Everything comes back to why America is bad. Angry MPT said, I like TikTok when you go to church and believe. I'll go to church, but I mean, I don't have the choice on the last part. As we've explored, I don't have the choice to believe. I'll go to church, but it's up to them. It's up to y'all to convince me.
I think in that regard, America would probably treat me in the exact same way, if not in a worse way, ironically enough.
So I actually don't mind what Hasan said at the beginning there. All nation states, by their nature, are somewhat authoritarian. This is true. But
sure, but like on a scale of like having authority or for the vertical people. So the difference between like having authority and using it for that sustainability versus like straight up fascism and authoritarianism, like that's the scale of the authority necessary for a government. But to say that all governments are authoritarian, even Jake agreeing, I think that is, even if it's technically correct, the way that Hasan is trying to put it out there is like, well, they're all bad. And again, I don't necessarily disagree. But that's not, Hasan is trying to say they're all bad, but America's the worst. That's where he's coming from.
Beginning there. All nation states, by their nature, are somewhat authoritarian. This is true. But the unfortunate part for Hasan is that socialism and communism, by their nature, result in the government actually having more and more power. Socialism is meant to mean that the government owns the means of production, and communism is meant to theoretically follow, which would mean that the people own the means of production. They just never seem to really reach that part Because
Nope.
governments just never give up control of power. Interesting that. So all of the communist countries around the world or throughout history, or all of the nominally communist countries, were actually just top-down, state-controlled totalitarian societies. But
And so the irony being that, in the sense that, yeah, all governments look to consolidate power and all that stuff. That is precisely why socialism and communism can't work. Even if I disagree that every single government ever has been authoritarian, they're definitely every government ever has been based on authority and force and power and all that stuff. But authority in and of itself isn't necessarily a bad thing. But that's the conflation that Hasan, I forgot his name for a second, that he's trying to make. Mr. Andrew said, government have police who legally have a monopoly on violence, right? So the argument seems to stand. It's how it's implemented, like you're saying. Exactly. And so the difference between somebody like Hasan saying all governments are authoritarian and somebody like Dave Smith saying all governments are authoritarian, they're the same sentence, but the subtext is very, very different. And when Dave Smith says it, he's got a lot more substance behind what he's saying. When Hasan says it, he's just looking for a way to be like, well, yeah, I mean, the CCP is bad, but isn't America bad too, guys? Shout out to Conflict Monitor. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. This stunning lady is a man, baby. I'm a man. I am the Indian Jesus here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. And guys, we missed hitting 5K for my birthday by 19 people. We are 19 people away from 5K. So if you are here and if you are new, please do me a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button. I'm live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, as you can see right over here. And sometimes whenever I feel like it, like right now. And we having a good time. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. Let's dive back in. Yeah, he's just saying exactly. He's just whatabouting it. Any criticism back to the U.S. Bingo. Bingo.
I mean, their goals, a great many requiring serious government intervention, require a higher threshold of government authority compared to capitalist societies, be they socially liberal or conservative. But anyways, in this next part, Hasan gets confronted with the actual facts about immigration.
What I always find interesting is when people focus on the newcomers to say that this is actually destroying the social fabric or social cohesion.
Yeah, bro. I was into communism before it was cool.
Not realizing that there are a ton of polls conducted on this stuff. I can just speak for America, especially, where by the second generation, assimilation is almost complete. And by the third one, it's like virtually impossible to distinguish in terms of performance, educational output, and job performance in general. It's just like everyone becomes American.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I was literally going to say, he's trying to do it again. He's trying to smuggle in America again. And I paused it a second too late. Oh my goodness. Before we go back, shout out to Just for Kicks. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. Said communism is for idiots. And indeed, Hasan is an idiot. But I mean, you can't make this shit up. You can't make this shit up. Does it count as a projection whistle? Wait, can you? Oh yeah, you guys should be able to hear that, right? Was there an echo or no echo? Still working on that. But projection. Yeah, let's see that again. I cannot believe he actually said it.
Assimilation is almost complete. And by the third one, it's like virtually impossible to distinguish in terms of performance, educational output, and job performance in general. It's just like everyone becomes American. Everyone becomes American.
So what he's trying to say is that you can have these values, but when you pass them down, the next generation is not going to care. And this is not completely different from the discussion of generations of wealth. So like when somebody has to work really hard to become, like really wealthy, and they're going to have a very high value for hard work, money, so on and so forth. Then their kids will be born into that wealth and born into that money, but they will see, oh, mom and dad are working really hard and so on and so forth. So there's going to be a lesser respect for and gratitude for all that. And by the third generation, it's usually, just trust fund kids that don't give a shit about anything. And he's trying to say the same thing about governments and these ideals. But That's exactly why it doesn't work. I'm gonna call you Section because I'm not reading that fucking thing the whole time. Section said, let's look at how Turkey, his home country, handles shit. Bet you they're worse in every aspect. Yep. I don't even have to look. I know that anything that he would find important is worse there. But we're racist, so it doesn't matter. That's Hasan's world. That's Hasan's world. Jester Kick said, technically, Canadians, Central Americans, and South Americans are Americans. Indeed. And he hates them all. He hates them all, but only the USA is the worst in the eyes of a Hasananabi.
Output and job performance in general. It's just like everyone becomes American.
That's not true in the UK, though, unfortunately. So if you look at, for example, Islamist radicalization, second and third generation Muslims are much more radical than first generation.
Yeah.
So we're not, that's the issue that a lot of people in Britain are concerned about, is not everyone's assimilating the way that the three of us have done.
So here's the interest.
And that's not even a problem because, like, cultures are important. So if you don't respect other people's cultures, then you're just racist, bro. You're just racist. It doesn't matter that you have culture and you want to have your own ideals and rituals and community style. You know, it doesn't matter. By wanting that, that's just your white privilege.
Interesting point about that. Well, two things I want to address. First, like I said, people assimilate. It's and they become a part of the
some people
normal forces of society. They become a part of the culture, or they bring some aspect of their culture into British culture. You know, they change the cuisine, and people seemingly enjoy it, even if they also simultaneously go attend an EDL rally and then, you know, get a little quick curry afterwards, or a little kebab on the side. But
and so what? Again, here what he's trying to do is be like, see, other people, they feign interest in these countries, but really they just like, they want the food, or they want to wear their dressings or whatever and all that stuff, but they don't really care. I'm the one who really cares. Meanwhile, we see the footage of him in China acting straight up like a buffoon. Put a 1 in the chat. Put a 1 in the chat if you have not seen any of the More Pegasus or somebody else's videos following what he did in China, because that is where the side quest.
Beyond that, the reason why people are angry is always going to be
because they know that you exist,
because the trains are not running on time, because the NHS is improperly managed due to underfunding. That's what I believe. I think it's always an issue of underfunding. Where they're not getting the same services that they once used to, and also things are becoming more and more costly. And
why do you think that is, Hasan? Why do you think that things are becoming more expensive? Is it because we're, we were based on free market capitalism that has been corrupted, or is it because we're not communists?
In that anger, it's much easier for them to be guided by a right-wing, guided by the right-wing forces, to turn around and say, you're angry.
We could definitely do that. I've always just, I wasn't sure if, like, how easily it is to do the audio. But you know what? Okay, let's try it right now. Let's try it right now. Right now. So will this, all right, what should we debate? Let's talk about Hasan. Can I do this? Is this good enough? No. But I just want to see, like, how, we're not going to do like a whole thing here, but I just want to see how the audio works.
Hey there, Lech. How's it going?
Pretty well. I was just wondering why people like Hasan.
Yeah, definitely. Hasan Piker, often known as Hasananabi, is pretty popular for a few reasons. He's got that engaging, charismatic style, and he blends political commentary with pop culture in a way that's pretty relatable. Plus, he often has a pretty approachable and laid-back vibe, and that definitely helps draw in a lot of viewers.
All right, I didn't realize it was that. I didn't realize it was that simple. So
yeah, it kind of sneaks up.
Shut up! I did not mean to do that. But yeah, I did not realize that was that simple. So maybe tomorrow hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the debate between the Indian Jesus and ChatGPT. But for right now, let's dive back into this. We gotta find the right voice and all that. But we'll make it fun. I gotta get something that's gonna be good for a debate in the sense that one, ChatGPT won't just agree with me, or that ChatGPT won't just like take these weird I guess weird angles might be more entertaining. But all right, so I'm gonna put up a community tab post, and I'm gonna ask, what should I change? What should I debate ChatGPT? And you guys in the comments, let me know. All right, we'll do it. Do it. Done. See, you ask, you receive.
By a right wing, guided by the right wing forces, to turn around and say, you're angry and you're right to be angry. And the reason why you're angry, or the reason why all of these things are happening, is because
every single time it's like, oh, Lutch, great question. That's very interesting. It's like, all right, just tell me the answer.
We are importing all of these random strangers into the country who don't speak your language, who you are scared by. And that, I think, causes division, and it causes friction that makes it harder for people to integrate. And that is part of the reason why I think, especially in a place like the UK, you see a little bit more of this resilience towards full-blown integration into society.
I also think as well, Hasan, if we're being honest, it's also because we have had such huge amounts of immigration come into the country that people understandably go, this pace of change is too much. And you have to think, let's go back to 2016, which was the Brexit referendum.
Yeah, and remember, Brexit was all about immigration and the notion that exactly the rate of change. Not that, oh, no, we don't like Muslims. Oh, no, we don't like this. Oh, no, we don't like this. It's no, we like this. We like our life. We like our country. We like our nation. We like our culture. And that is changing.
Now, Brexit was about many things, but really it was about people wanting immigration to be lowered. And that was 9 or 10 years ago. Immigration hasn't been lowered. In fact, it's been ratcheted up. So people voted to lower immigration. And for instance, I voted Remain. People voted Brexit. I'm like, well, that's democracy. We get on. We're going to make the best of it. I do believe that when you ignore people's wishes at the ballot box and people explicitly vote for something and you ignore them for the best part of a decade, that does generate a lot of anger, and understandably so.
Yep.
I think in that same time frame, if there was enough appetite by the government to address the financial harm that people were experiencing, the economic struggles that people were experiencing, there would still be a lot of people who say, I don't want a brown person, I don't want a black person around in my neighborhood. But ultimately, those numbers would be far smaller. And that's what I always go back to. I'm
based on what? What are you basing that on? Like, sure, okay, we can acknowledge that there's racist people. There's somewhere, there's like, oh no, I can't have a black or a brown near me. Like, yeah, of course, people are shitty, whatever. But how does that, what was the claim that he made? He said there'd be a lot less of what?
People were experiencing the economic struggles, the financial harm that people were experiencing, the economic struggles that people were experiencing. There would still be a lot of people who say, I don't want a brown person, I don't want a black person around in my neighborhood. But ultimately, those numbers would be far smaller.
So his claim is that if more people had money, less people would be racist. I thought that the billionaires, most of them who are white, are the most racist because they take money away from the poor black and brown people. That's what I thought his message was. But I guess I'm still learning.
In my neighborhood, but ultimately those numbers would be far smaller. And that's what I always go back to. I'm a leftist. I believe in economic improvements, and I believe that a lot of the reactionary forces actually take advantage of that instability, the economic volatility that exists, in an effort to shift the attention away to people who have the same exact interests as you and I do. Because ultimately, I don't believe that anyone is coming into the United States of America or the UK, as a matter of fact, because they want to bring about a Salafist-style Islamic caliphate.
Bruh. They literally tell us that that's what they want. They literally say, yes, we want to change everything about your world. The secular world, we hate it. It is awful. It is falling from God, and it needs to be changed. They say that almost explicitly, bro. Where do you get this stuff from?
In London. I know you won't agree with me on this.
It's not about whether I
Yeah,
agree, it's
'cause
about
you're
whether
wrong.
the facts agree with you.
Exactly. You're just wrong. They absolutely are, at least in the UK. Like maybe the jihadist problem in America is not bad yet, but it is coming. But if we want to talk about Europe, bruh, what? Mr. Andrew said, question for Jesus. What about neoliberal reform? This is a vital piece of the conversation, and I'm not hearing mentioned. So what do you mean specifically? Like, which neoliberal reforms do you mean specifically? Because people will be throwing that word around, and I don't know. No, I always like to be exactly sure what you're talking about before I answer. But yeah, what exactly do you mean by neoliberal reform?
About a Salafist-style Islamic caliphate in London.
Yeah, they
I
are,
know
bro.
You won't agree with me on
It's
this.
not about whether I agree, it's about whether the facts agree with you.
I don't think that's the case.
Hold on.
I think
Well, let me
ultimately.
just give you some
Wait.
facts.
He just said it's not about whether the facts agree with me. It's about whether you agree with me. This is why you have to listen closely to what this guy says, because he is weaselly. One thing you can't say is that he is not good at being a content creator, influencer, whatever it is. He's very good at using his words in such a way that it sounds like something different than it is. Listen to this again.
Fact, because they want
So again, he's saying nobody's coming in to, be jihadist.
to bring about a Salafist-style Islamic caliphate in London. I know you won't agree with me on
It's
this.
not about whether
So again, not about
I
whether
agree, it's about whether the facts agree with you.
it's not about whether I agree. It's about whether the facts agree.
I don't think that's the case.
Hold on.
It is the case. You don't think it's a... What do you mean you don't think it's the case? What does that mean?
Don't agree with me on
It's
this.
not about whether I agree, it's about whether the facts agree with you.
I don't think that's the case.
Hold on.
I think
Well, let me
ultimately.
just give you some facts then. If we have a terrorist attack on a monthly basis by an Islamist, effectively, we just had 2 in the space of the last month as we're recording this. 33%, I think, of British Muslims want Sharia law in Britain. Like,
Damn. All right, hold on. What was that number?
33%, I think, of British Muslims want Sharia.
30. Okay, so 33% of Muslims in UK want Sharia law. So let's see. So this is more than half of British Muslims want to make it illegal to show a picture of the Prophet compared to 16. Okay, so it's a bunch of different things. So then we come down to Sharia law. Then there's somewhat desirable, don't know, or somewhat undesirable. And the further over to this end, the more you care, and further to this end that we care on that side. So if we talk about the general public, most 51% of the people, when it comes to Sharia law, can you guys see this properly? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So in the general public, the top line here that's highlighted, 51% are saying the general public saying somewhat to very undesirable. Or no. Red is very. Red is very. Somewhat undesirable is the orange. Don't know is in the middle. The light blue is somewhat desirable, and then very desirable is dark blue. So again, only 3% of the general public said Sharia law is very desirable, or very undesirable. Well, 51% said undesirable. Most people do not want Sharia law. But then we look at British Muslims, and 17% of them said very desirable, with a number of 15% saying somewhat desirable. And then we have 25% saying don't know. But let's not forget about taqiyya. Who remembers taqiyya? The notion of taqiyya was originally So when Muslims were being oppressed around the world, the notion that you could lie about your beliefs and lie about your faith to make sure that you are safe. But of course, as time has gone on and the safety of just being Muslim has the safety of being Muslim has gone way, way up. You're not in physical danger in most Western places just for being a Muslim. And of the places that are not Western, most of them are Muslim. So when we go back to the chart, we get 8% of British Muslims saying Sharia law is somewhat undesirable, with another 15 saying very. So that's less than a quarter of them are willing to say, nah, I'm not about that. The rest of them are like, I mean, I don't know, but, or fuck yeah. That is not okay. That is not congruent with Western values. That's not okay. Yeah. Not a real Muslim. They don't believe in Sharia law. There you go. There you go. So then again, we go back to the chart here, and here I'll turn off the chat for you guys. So it's here. We go to the chart here, and then according to the Quran, the people who are only the 15% who said very desirable, these are actually only the Muslims. So the rest of these people, in the same way that Andrew Wilson would say, like, oh yeah, there's a lot of self-ID Christians that aren't real Christians, and blah, 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 blah. They would say the same thing about that. But while Andrew Wilson might say, oh, you're not a real Christian because you think P-Hub content is okay, these people are saying, no, you're not a real Muslim because you don't want Sharia law. But yeah, not a problem, according to Hasan. Not a problem at all. So, Mr. Andrew asked me, what about neoliberal reform? And I asked for clarification. Describing the orthodoxy since Thatcher and Reagan, male public-owned assets, make public-owned assets private, sell off public services to private interests, cut taxes for the wealthiest, etc. So in general, I do think that is the direction we want to move in. There's been a very strong campaign as to, well, we tried trickle-down economics and there's still poor people, therefore it is bad. And I think there's different ways to implement similar ideas. And so, yeah, I definitely think that I think the misuse of it has led to the inequality. I am certainly not an economic expert, but I do think it is these constant slow marks of trying to make things yeah, well, I'm okay with that. These little aspects of, well, we're going to make this better for these people and those people and those people, and it creates, it's inherently unequal. And so that's not true at all. That's not true at all. What do you call a job? If you got, no, I'm an atheist, baby. If you work a job, then the money is flowing towards you. And that's good. We want that. We want the people who can give money to have the money to give. Now, does that mean that they should be sitting on high and we should be, please, may I have a penny? No, there's more nuance to that. But I think conceptually, that is the way that it needs to that it needs to go. Who makes more money, the worker or the guy you work for? The guy you work for. Why is that? It's not money going upward. These are two different questions. These are two different questions. If my boss gives me money, that is money going downward. That is my boss, and he is giving me the money. In that transaction, he makes more money out of that, but he also has put more into it, so he deserves more money from that. If I want that much money, then I need to put in that much work. I'm a dog trainer, so I just get an email from a website that I don't pay for, didn't set up, that says Susie from wherever would like a dog training. So I call Susie and I say, hey, you want me to train your dog? And they're like, yeah, whatever. So then I go out and I train the dog and whatever. And then I get a cut of the money that the person pays for the training package. But I only get the money that's worth me actually being there training the dog. I don't get the money that comes from the advertising. I don't get the money that comes from the fact there's an entire training center in New York where all of this reputation has been built up. I don't have to pay for the business cards that say the brand name on it, so that it's not just some random dude offering dog training. It's a reputable company. No. I'm a W-2, but it's I basically work as a 1099, but no, I work for a company. I get I get calls and then I field them on my own. So I don't really, it's not a typical job where like I go into an office and see my boss every day. I don't think I've seen my boss in like a year, but it is W-2. But yeah, I'm okay with that. That is how it should work. I am okay with my boss making more money off of training than I am, than I am, because he put more work into it. Now, again, if I wanted to make that much money and I decided to start my own company, then you should, hell yeah, I'm going to be making more money than when I build the whole infrastructure and then some guy is just going to people's houses saying, okay, sit, okay, stay, okay, I'm simplifying it. It's pretty easy. It's not that easy. But I deserve more money than that. It really works like that. Again, I haven't seen, I don't know any of my coworkers and I haven't seen my boss in probably a year. It sounds it works very much like an independent contractor. But the point is, that I do the work that I do the work and I get the money based on that work. He did more work, so he gets more money. Majority of you atheists are just like religious zealots. Both of you should play a soggy biscuit. Well, Cuban Crisis, I 1000% agree with you. And that is why I don't get mad when people think that all atheists are like the atheists that you're talking about, because too many of them are just like that. And most of the ones who are just normal people and don't really think about religion don't really talk about it. So, which is fair enough, but I agree with you. Part of my entire purpose on this planet, on this platform, is to show that is the leftism, the feminism, the hedonism, the lack of spirituality, and all of those things that leads to the correlation of atheists and stuff like this versus it just being another part of what you do or don't believe. But that's a whole other thing. So let's dive back in here and see where we're at. So again, yeah, it's insane how crazy in the comparison. I mean, again, let me turn off the chat for the vertical people here, or excuse me, for the landscapers. That red line, all of these people in the general public, this big red piece, and including this 9%, everybody's saying no, undesirable for Sharia law. Then we go over to Britain, and only this tiny little bit here. Only those people are like, no, we definitely shouldn't do that. All the rest of these people are either willing to say, hell yeah, Sharia law, let's go Sharia law, or are saying no and potentially, not inherently, but potentially lying about it. That ain't cool, baby. That ain't cool. Hey, shout out to Marilyn, God herself in the building. Welcome to the party. No, I'm sorry, Morty, nothing for you. Don't forget, guys, every single donation comes with a treat for Morty. Diving back in here.
So the last month, as we're recording this, 33%, I think, of British Muslims want Sharia law in Britain, like, according to polls. More than half want to ban.
I haven't seen these polls.
Well, we can
of course
put them
you
in for
haven't.
people to see.
Of course you haven't.
Half want to.
Or has he seen it? He's like, well, I don't even know. Like, where did you get that from? Like, that's probably bullshit.
Ban homosexuality, right? So when you say people aren't coming in to introduce an Islamist stuff, well, some of them want to if they're in a position to do so. We have 5 MPs who are effectively elected on a sectarian ticket, like as in we are Muslims, vote for us because you're a Muslim.
Who would you say those MPs are?
The 5 independent MPs, they're called the Gaza MPs or whatever way you want to call them. Right?
Are you talking about like Zara Sultana?
I don't know if she's one of them. I think one of them is called Adnan Hussein. There's 5 of them. We can look them up. We can put them in for people to see. Right. So I think it should be said that the overwhelming majority of British Muslims don't want Sharia law. But if 33% of them do, you can see why a lot of people who don't want Sharia law might be concerned about that, right?
And again, 33% willing to say that they want Sharia law?
Sure. I don't know what I haven't seen these polls, and I also don't know what British Muslims or the 33% that are saying they want Sharia law, like what they're talking about.
So Konstantin
What do you mean you don't know what they're talking about? They're talking about wanting Sharia law. That's it. That's it.
makes a fantastic point here, and he's a guy who really knows what he's talking about when it comes to British immigration and when it comes to integration of these immigrants. I mean, he wrote a book about this. I've interviewed him about this very thing. So if third world British Muslims want Sharia law, that is a dangerous minority that needs to be expelled or integrated. Sharia law and English common law, I don't need to tell you, are thoroughly different practices. And not only in the laws that they're applying, but in their fundamental structure. And the most damaging statistic here that Konstantin mentions is that the second generation immigrants are more radical. I mean, integration and proper assimilation takes time, and Britain, America, Australia, and most of Europe have had too much, too quick, and not nearly enough time.
Right. That's a big point. The fact that the second generation is more radical means, in the same way we were talking about wealth, well, while the first generation to make that wealth is going to respect the circumstances, the conditions of how they were able to make that wealth. Similarly, the first generation Muslims in Europe are going to realize, oh, hey, you know, we're new here. We should probably try to fit in a little bit. But by the next generation, they're like, yo, why are you trying to fit in with these waddies? We're Muslims. Let's do it our Muslim way. And then when they have kids, boom, that's what happens. Anybody just talking shit? He said, why are you concerned with Muslims and you're an atheist? If there's no God, why be concerned? Because just because there's no God doesn't mean that they won't convince themselves that they should blow themselves up for the God that they think exists. If I'm standing next to somebody who believes God told me to blow myself up, that's not good for me regardless of what I believe. All right, we need to get you. Are you saying anything important, or are you just talking shit? Yep, just talking shit. Bye. That's the sad thing, you know, is that you could come here and like challenge me on anything, and if you think I have stupid ideas, like you could just say that. If you do it like that, you're just gonna get blocked. Like that's not how you have a conversation. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? Shout out to Liberty Plus TV. There you go. The fact that there's no God is even more reason to fear Islam. No afterlife. Yikes. Yikes. Welcome to the party, brother.
Most of Europe have had too much, too quick, and not nearly enough time, especially since they have mass Islamic immigration, a religion where they can do just about anything as long as it's in service to their faith. This is just a foolish thing for Western nations to be doing, because immigration must happen below the rate of assimilation. And the longer it takes the people to actually realize this, and the longer it takes the liberals to realize that their liberal dream is going to be destroyed as well as the conservative Christian dream, then the longer it will take to actually be able to ever remedy this problem.
Yep. And Mr. Interesting, surely Muslims aren't a monolith. There's billions of them. So yes, I agree. As we saw from that, just that one question, there is a variety of let's say enthusiasm, but inherently by being Muslims, and well, exactly. You can say that in a minute. Yes, correct. And so when we talk about Christians doing this, or Muslims doing that, or Buddhists doing that, it doesn't inherently mean that every single one of them is a hive mind on the exact same thing. It means it is an idea that is held within the group. Well said. Well said. Yeah. If they follow Islam, they are a monolith. And maybe not in every single way, but in the ways that we're talking about, they are saying, yes, I am part of this group.
Conservative Christian dream, then the longer it will take to actually be able to ever remedy this problem. But let's move on.
My concern is as well, and it's the rhetoric that is getting ratcheted up on both sides, both on the right, but both on the left. So, for instance, I'll give you an example. In my own country, we have Zara Sultana, who's a very prominent left-wing politician. She said the words, we need to fight the fascists in parliament. Right, okay. We need to fight them in the ballot box, and we need to fight them in the streets.
Hey, yo, that sounds like a call to violence. And what did Hasan just say right before we heard a call for violence? Oh yeah, she's based. I love her. At every single moment, he is failing to be a normal human being. Shout out to Vern Nazar. Welcome. Am I saying that right? Vern. I can call you Vern. Vern. There should still be a wise rate of assimilation, even if there's billions of them. Yeah, and guess the problem that's the irony is that it wouldn't be that there's a problem with Islam or there's a problem with people's opinions on Islam if there was that assimilation. It doesn't have to be completely. It's not like you have to completely, or at least I personally, I think most people are not asking when we say assimilation to be like, okay, get rid of all of your culture, become one of us now. I don't think that's what people mean. It just means you have to do what you do within the confines of what we find okay. We've already established what we find is okay, and you just have to buy into that. That's it. Welcome to the party.
Parliament, right, okay. In that we need to fight them in the ballot box and we need to fight them in the streets. Now, the problem is, if you ask most people what fascism is, I don't think they would be able to give you a clear or coherent explanation or an analysis of the political ideology.
Well, let's be honest, by fascist, she means people like Reform who
Yeah.
are not fascist. They are a centre-right party, they're not fascist.
So,
I don't know if I would agree with that.
right, but the
Well,
point...
hold on a second. You think the Reform Party is
I think
fascist?
Reform Party, as it stands currently, is a nascent fascist parliamentary group that hasn't reached its full potential yet.
Could you define
in the same way that I would
fascism in this instance?
in the same way that I would say the modern Republican Party is or was
Trump bad. And notice how he stopped. He stopped to hear what Konstantin was saying. And then he heard that Konstantin was like asking for a clear definition. And then he just kept talking.
full potential yet.
Could you define
in the same way that I would
fascist?
See, he knows that he said to define, and then he stops talking, and then it's like, no, I can't define that, so let me keep talking.
group that hasn't reached its full potential yet.
Could you define
in the same way that I would
fascism in this instance?
in the same way
And then just right back into it.
that I would say the modern Republican Party is or was throughout most of its history a liberal party, a far right but liberal party nonetheless, and it is becoming an illiberal or post-liberal party that is moving in the direction of fascism. Fascism is what's the best definition for it? Paleogenetic ultranationalism, a in-group out-group dynamic that is constantly seeking to destroy the out-group and dominate the out-group, even if the out-group is actually a part of civilized society, and surrounding itself with this like mythologized understanding of this national or ethnic or religious mythology of the higher group.
But it would also include authoritarianism, the end of a one-party state.
So he's basically trying to say that as long as the main group doesn't completely put the minority on a pedestal, then it's inherently bad. That's the long and short of it. As long as there's a smaller group and the bigger group doesn't go, well, look at you, smaller group, we need to do all this for you and do that for you, then they're bad. And that's America to a T. Hey, shout out to Dick's Insider. Welcome to the party. How does he believe? I have no idea. I don't even think that he does. Yeah, like I said, he's a far-right liberal party. That says a lot about him. A lot. You can't make this shit up.
Mythology of the higher group.
But it would also include authoritarianism, the end of a one-party state, like all of
Not
these.
always, but yeah, usually, yes.
So by which of those standards would you say Reform is a fascist or neo? I can't remember how you said a nascent fascist party.
Well, the reason why I say that is because, I mean, Mussolini's fascist party was not a party that Mussolini's fascist party was an active fascist party within the parliament before it became the centralized form of governance.
But they
Same
said
with Nazi.
we are fascist.
I know,
right?
but that was because the word fascism was just being invented at that point. And
So they were fascists, but like a different kind of fascist. They were the good kind of fascist because back in the day, fascism was a good thing. And I know about the good fascists, but The bad fascist, that's America today. I just saved you 10 hours. You now do not ever have to watch a Hasan stream because it's just that.
Therefore, it was still packaged as like a revolutionary, new, illiberal way.
Okay,
they didn't come into power. We now live in the post-World War II universe where like you can't say that you're fascist.
So you think
So Francis made a good point there at the start. Most people couldn't define fascism if asked. And that is absolutely true. And I don't think that Hasan fully knows either. He seems to
Yeah, he's like, well, this fascio-liberal, neo-conservatory, nucient, like, bro, what are you? You know you don't know what you're talking about. You know that you're purposely spitting out words that most of us have never heard before because you don't know how to answer the question. When you could just say it in a very plain way. Oh, it's when a government or a group that has power exerts that power on a group that, or something like that. Basic.
if asked. And that is absolutely true. And I don't think that Hasan fully knows either. He seems to be using fascist here as a stand-in for authoritarian. This just isn't correct, though he does get closer than your run-of-the-mill liberal. And I mean, I'm no expert in the nuances and the micros of British politics, but I can pretty safely say that Reform UK, led by Nigel Farage, is not a nascent fascist party. And here's the problem. These people are the reason why words like fascist lose meaning, just like racist and just like anti-Semitism and these words.
If everything is fascist, nothing is fascist.
That are just overly used and thrown at everything. At its core, fascism is an ideology that seeks to dissolve the individual into a metaphysical whole. The nation is...
There you go. Why couldn't you have said that? An ideology that seeks to take the many and squash them into a whole, like Pluribus. Have you guys been watching Pluribus? Give me one in the chat if you have not been watching Pluribus.
An organic
unionism,
and these words that are just overly used and thrown at everything. At its core, fascism is an ideology that seeks to dissolve the individual into a metaphysical whole. The nation is an organic unity of the will of the state. It rejects the universalism of liberalism and socialism, presenting itself as a third position, where class conflict is supposedly erased through total subordination to the collective will embodied by the state. And also, to say it's a nascent fascist party is just such a cop-out. This is when somebody actually can't prove what they're saying. So
I have an amazing video for you guys that does we're gonna get into this. We're gonna get into this. I have a shout out to King Nirvana. Welcome to the party. I just saw a great video talking about the show without giving any major spoilers. So like there are some stuff about the show. So if you don't want to see anything, then you're not gonna watch that. But if you're interested to see, it's worth it. But we will get there. We will get there. I'm gonna star this one, Mr. Andrew, because I have some thoughts about that. I didn't pull out. What you talking about? We've been watching it. You've been missing out. I don't know what you're talking about.
They just say, well, this is the seedbed of fascism. It's not fascism yet, but trust me, bro, it will be. So let's move on to the last section.
So you think that if Nigel Farage, which is currently there leading the polls, you think that if he is elected, eventually he will suspend democracy, he will start pogroms against Muslims, using the state, he will, have a one-party state. You think...
Guys, how is it that the vertical stream not only is doing better than the landscapers on the likes to viewers, but the verticals have more likes than the landscapers do? Landscapers, what are you doing? Can you hit the like button, please?
That's what this is heading.
Bearing in mind that the chairman of Reform Party, Sia Yusuf, is a Muslim.
Yeah, still doesn't matter. I mean, there was Jews that worked within Jews that worked within the Nazi government command structure as well. It's just like there are always going to be people that is that
true? Is that true? There was Jews in the Nazi ranks? I don't think that's true. There's no way that's true. There is no way that is true. I'm watching Hasan on the Triggernometry podcast, and he just told me that there were Jews in the ranks of the Nazis. Does this have any truth to it at all? Wow. Okay. I mean, the short answer, short answer, yes. Short answer, yes. does Hasan have some points here? Let's see. Let's just have him read it out. Actually, no, I don't want to do that. So short answer, yes, but not in the way Hasan is implying. There were no practicing openly Jewish Nazis, but there were men of partial Jewish ancestry who served in the German military, and in some cases, the regime granted them special exceptions. Nazis classified people by ancestry, not belief. So under the Nuremberg laws, the Nazis labeled people with 1 or 2 Jewish grandparents as Maschlinga, or mixed blood. These were people not considered full Jews. I mean, okay, I guess. But there were no Jews in the Nazi Party leadership, SS, or ideological ranks. Yeah, obviously. Some men with partial Jewish ancestry, often unknowingly, served in Weimar, the most early. They were not seen as Jews by the Nazis, but nor were they treated as equals. Huh? All right. I mean, hey, learn something new every day. That's what I was thinking when. That's what I was thinking. But I mean, hey. Did not know that. Did not know that. Where we are. Hey, there we go. Angry amputee coming through. Spiro programmed us well. It indeed was a Rumble occasion. Obviously, I cannot play TV shows on YouTube, but I've been putting out the links and all of that stuff. The proof lady, welcome to the party. So the first SS officer, Emil Maurice, was Jewish. Really? Interesting. We're going to have to fact check that as well. Not that I don't believe you, but that's crazy. It definitely is wild. And we got video comments and more. Welcome. Said new sub. Oh my goodness. Thank you so very, very much again, guys. We missed hitting 5K for my birthday by 19 people. 19 people. So hit that subscribe button. So, all right. So let's go back to this. What about SS officer Emil Maurice? Emil Maurice. Dun 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 dun. Emil Maurice is the main example people bring up. He's exactly the kind of edge case that shows how incoherent Nazi racial policy really was, not that the Jews were Nazis. So to be fair to Hasan, he didn't say the Jews were Nazis. He said that there were Jews among the Nazis. Here's the real story. He was a member of the early party, joined in 19. He was Hitler's personal chauffeur and bodyguard and founding member of the SS. His Jewish ancestry. In 1935, during the SS racial investigations, Heinrich Himmler discovered Maurice had a Jewish great-grandfather, making him 1/8 Jewish. Under the Nuremberg racial categories that technically made him a second-degree Mischling. This meant Himmler wanted him expelled from the SS, which had normally been automatic. So Hitler personally was like, nah, that's my dude. An honorary Aryan. So basically, Maurice was invited to the cookout. Fair enough. I mean, hey. We learn something new every single day. Welcome, newbies. If you guys are new, glad to see ya. Hey, thank you, Dilly to you. Happy birthday, Dilly. All right, learning something new, learning what's good about Jewish Nazis. Something I did not think existed, but now we know. Let's dive right back in. Guys, don't forget about Morty. He is hungry. And every single donation, 99 cents, gets him a treat.
Command structure as well. It's just like there are always going to be people that come from they come from the background of the targeted out group in general. And it doesn't even end with Muslims is what I mean. It's going to, it always has to excise what it considers aberrations. And there is always, like with Nazi Germany, for example, the next stage, if they hadn't failed so dramatically in its endless militarism, would have most likely been to create the Übermensch structure, like the start going after people who were maybe brown-haired and didn't have blue eyes. Like there's an endless expansion of that sort.
And you think that's what reform will do? They'll suspend democracy. They'll stop.
No. That's what he thinks Trump is doing. That's what he thinks Trump is doing. That's the whole, well, like the Republican Party today. That's what he thinks. He thinks that there's some version of the Ubermensch that Trump has that he is somehow trying to expel into society and make the case. Like, come on, bro. What are we talking about? Shout out to the Rage page. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. Very good to see you. And oh my goodness, with the $2 make you holler. Bam, 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 bam. Thank you. Thank you so very, very much. Yeah, this is for you, bro. Come and get it. Come on, get it. Come on, get it. Don't step on the microphone. Come here. There we go. There we go. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-dam. A treat for Morty. Oh, my headphones are in the way. Don't eat my headphones. Don't eat my headphones. There we go. Sorry about that. Right here. There we go. You going blind? He's going blind. He's going blind. Old man. There you go. Thank you. The Rage page said, God bless you and Morty. Well, thank you. So very, very much appreciated. And of course, adding to the Morty Memorial stream, guys, he's fine now. But again, we just had him at the vet this week, and he is not going to last forever. So very, very, very much appreciated. All right, let's dive back into this. And then, if you would like, I've got something to show you.
There's an endless expansion of that sort.
And you think that's what reform will do? They'll suspend democracy. They'll start a one-party state.
This is super in the future if they actually get to that point. But I don't think that it is far-fetched to assume that, yes, reform through a process of initially reforms, I could totally see them getting to that position. Yes.
What's your basis for saying that, though?
It's entirely dependent on how material conditions unwind. If it gets to a point where there's tremendous economic stability, then instead of solving those issues in the same way that the American movement, the Trump movement is not solving these issues, they will continue to be a force of political repression.
So you can see that he's weaseling out. He's weaseling out of the position that he set up. He's talking about fascism. He's talking about how the Western world is becoming more fascist. He's talking about how the Republican Party is fascist. And then we get all of that out. And Konstantin's like, so you're saying we're on our way to that? He's like, well, I mean, maybe, depending on the material conditions of potentially the next 100 years. So no, then. So then we're not there. You're just talking about what maybe might happen in the future if things don't go a certain way. Which, okay, is an interesting enough, thing to say. But it's not the same thing as, oh no, the fascists are coming.
But what's your evidence for this? This is the thing I don't understand.
The evidence is,
trust me, bro. I don't need no evidence. Trust me, bro.
Repression.
But what's your evidence for this? This is the thing I don't understand.
The evidence is the historical patterns that I'm looking at. The historical patterns of why fascism has been implemented in the past. And now, like I said, we live in a post-fascist world. We live in a nuclear world. The dynamic is different, okay? So...
okay, the dynamic is different. How? What is it about the difference in the dynamic that makes you worry about fascism? These are the questions that we're asking, Hasan, and you're just not answering anything with any substance.
The fascism will not come as a third way, as an outsider any longer. I think instead you will see far-right elements within liberal society, within the parliamentary structure, move in that direction.
But my worry with this is, and this is why I'm not trying to debate bro you or anything. I'm genuinely engaging with what you're saying. I hope you feel that, right?
Yeah.
The issue I have in the context of the discussion we're having about Charlie
is that you're fucking wrong.
Kirk is, you've got a situation where you are calling reform fascists. I know some people in reform, they're not fascists. They don't believe in a one-party state. They don't want to end democracy, right? We've had Nigel Farage on our show. It's very clear where he's an old-school Thatcherite kind of guy, right? But you're saying he's a fascist. And my worry is...
I think he will get there.
Okay, you're saying he will get to fascism. Fair.
If material conditions get...
If everything goes in the worst possible way and everything is completely awful, then this person will be on the road to eventually being a fascist. You have said nothing. You have said nothing. They wasted this beautiful set. Look at this set. That natural lighting, wasted. Wasted. On a man baby in a Dungeons and Dragons shirt.
there.
Okay, you're saying he will get to fascism. Fair.
If material conditions
Cool.
get to a point
I got it.
where there's mass instability in an effort
It's a nascent
to
fascist
restore,
party that in the right
Yes.
context will become fascist. I get
Yes.
it, right?
In the same, not
But-
just
Everything is fine right now. I don't love it, but everything is fine right now. But if everything goes horribly wrong, I'm just warning you guys. It means that things are going to go horribly wrong. Somebody said it's hard for Konstantin because he is also trying to scare people about Nazis and Nazis coming. Two peas in a pod. The two different sides of wokeness. The two different sides of wokeness coming together for a meet. We've got the woke left and the woke right. Shame, shame. Now you understand why I didn't want to cover the whole podcast.
effort
It's a nascent
to
fascist
restore-
party that in the right
Yes.
context will become fascist. I get
Yes.
it, right?
In the same, not
But-
dissimilar to
but here's my
the
point.
AFD, the nationalists in France.
Reform is
and-
very different from the AFD, but it doesn't matter.
Okay.
My point is this. If I thought the fascists were coming, I would feel it's my duty to participate in armed resistance against that.
Yup.
And my worry is part of where the political violence is coming from is people like you who are using this term, in my opinion, far too loosely. And
Far too loosely. And then acting like, oh my God, what? People are doing violence to those that I said that the streets should run red with their blood? That's not me. Mr. Andrew asked, what is the woke right? Oh, I am so glad that you gave me the opportunity to explain it once again. Well, we know what the woke left is, right? A bunch of ideas and people and mentality that just don't make sense and don't fit with reality. That men can be women. That race has no race has no effect on everything. And then we saw that the woke left kind of was losing favor. It's still out there, but then all the anti-woke people, mostly who were on the right, started to look inward at each other. We were all a coalition against the woke left, correct? And then we started realizing, oh, wait a minute. Some of you guys are doing the exact same thing that the wokies do, shutting down discussions because they don't disagree with you, calling people isms and racists and all these things because they bring up Israel, having dogmatic ideas that Trump must be good or whatever it is. The mentality that made the woke left, is now, we are now seeing it on the right. And so obviously there are different positions. The woke right is not people who are fighting for transes and stuff, but it's the people who are using the same mentality that those who were fighting for the transes, that same mentality is now being to fight. Well, if you say anything against Israel, then you're anti-Semitic. No, I won't platform that person because blah, 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 blah. The woke right. Hey, we got the captain of the Moral Felon crew in the building. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. Very good to see you, sir. We also got Ant from. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, let's finish this up here. And then I got to show you guys about pluribus.
like you who are using this term, in my opinion, far too loosely and projecting historical analogies onto people that you're not that familiar with, actually.
Yup.
And then you're really putting a target on their back. And my worry is the reason Charlie Kirk was killed is there were far too many people calling him a fascist, which he wasn't, right? And that's my concern with all of this irresponsible language, which I think it is.
So, I mean, Hasan's ideas here, ironically, are actually the only ones at the table that would somewhat represent historically fascist ideas. But even then, I still wouldn't call him a fascist because that just wouldn't be true. Fascism in the modern world is essentially dead in terms of a coherent political movement. And I can see why people on the right wing would call those on the left the real fascists. And I see why that would be an effective tool. It's kind of tongue-in-cheek because they're calling everybody a fascist and you say, well, no, you guys are the real fascists. That is an effective rhetorical tool, but I would say only in
projection. That's how they do it. No, you're the racist. You're the fascist, using fascist and racist tactics.
response to left-wing people calling the right-wing fascists. It's kind of just a way to mirror what they're actually seeing and to point out the hypocrisy. But I mean, when the left-wing point out any vague overlap with any historical position of fascist, and they paint...
You don't want a little Andrew Wilson lapdog? Rage page? What's wrong with Jake?
Reform UK in this regard. I mean, it's just so lazy and reductive and quite uncharitable. And then saying under the right conditions is once again just such a cop-out. But anyways, I did enjoy that exchange. Hope Hasan does some more debates because I do think that he does dodge the core issues and he throws labels around very carelessly. But anyways, that is all.
Yes. All right. So I am giving you guys the warning now. There are not major spoilers for Pluribus, but this is the best that you're going to get to be able to understand what Pluribus is about, to see if you would like to watch it. And I know for sure that if you have any notion of disliking communism, collectivism, cult-like thinking, all that kind of stuff, then you will like this show. And just to put a cap on this, Mr. Andrew, kind of, but it's not just that they're being dumb. It's the manner in which they are being dumb. Again, the same reason we called the woke left. Why didn't we just call them dumb? Yeah, they were being dumb, but it's more specific. It's a specific type of dumbness. All right, where are we here? Oh, I thought I had this open already. Hold on. But yeah, I mean, Hasan, it's so pathetic that he has made such a splash in politics, in the influencer space. And there's no substance. It's hard not to be jealous. I'll be honest with you. It's hard not to be jealous. Why does he get all the viewers when I'm the one out here trying to do shit for real? I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I'm trying. He hasn't been trying to do anything except go for his own fucking dog-shocking bullshit. But hey, I guess I am too. All right, let's see what we got. Yeah. What did I do with it? Okay, here we go. So again, there are minor spoilers for the first episode, but nothing really happens. Nothing really happens in the show, for like plot-wise, besides the big thing what the show is all about for a couple of episodes later. So again, if you cannot deal with any spoilers and you think you might want to watch the show, then you're not going to want to watch this. But if you probably don't really care and you're like, let me see what Letch is talking about, then trust me.
Sometimes you just really need answers. Imagine you're sitting on your couch. You're watching a man standing behind a podium in the White House press room. It looks like a standard.
Again, last chance, minor spoilers, but everybody should watch this.
You're watching a man standing behind a podium in the White House press room. It looks like a standard news segment, except you've been prompted to call in, and the man on the screen is talking directly to you. Because he was nearby and looked the part, he was wearing a suit. He's been chosen as the representative for a newly formed group of hive-minded non-individuals to explain the apocalyptic conditions that broke out about an hour ago, right after you noticed those heavy contrails streaking across the New Mexico sky. He's there to help. He'll do whatever it takes to make you understand. There's just one weird detail. Everything he says is coming from an unspecified we. And when you ask him who that is, he gives the helpful clarification, we is us, just us. How did everyone on Earth go from 8 billion individuals to one collective us in an afternoon? Vince Gilligan's new show Pluribus does a pretty good job of explaining the broad strokes of that in its first 2 episodes.
And again, remember, Vince Gilligan is the guy who did Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. And if you liked those shows and you liked how different they were, but there was still a through line of, oh, that's Vince Gilligan. Even from this video that we're watching, you'll be able to tell, oh, this is a Vince Gilligan show.
But if you're like me and don't have a background in theoretical biology, you might have found yourself sitting on your couch bewildered like Carol. You don't have the Undersecretary of Agriculture and Farm Production and Conservation and his helpful chyrons emphasizing key points like, we are not aliens. So you're left doing what I did, freeze framing the whiteboard from the research lab, looking up terms like lysogenic cycle or searching nucleotide sequence on Reddit, trying to process a bunch of unconnected science you'll never fully understand and really don't need to understand to enjoy the show. It's not the worst way to spend an afternoon or, a whole day, and maybe that might be how you ended up here. The good news.
And so, the show just starts off with everything being normal, and then something happens, we don't really know what, and then everyone is part of a hive mind, but the main chick is immune, again, for some reason, we don't know why.
News is you don't have to go down that path. I say this as someone who voluntarily lived in that rabbit hole for more than a week. Here is the short version of what you hopefully picked up. Astronomers found a signal. It contained a recipe for an RNA sequence. Humans, being humans, decided to cook that recipe. It created a virus. A researcher got bitten by a rat, then felt compelled to infect others via kissing and donut licking. The infected coordinated, spread it globally, and triggered the joining, a global seizure that rebooted humanity into a hive mind. Everyone is happy. Everyone is connected. Everyone except for a handful of seemingly unconnected people who are immune for unknown reasons.
Almost like the propaganda that we see, they're all a hive mind except a few of us that are immune.
That, combined with the very helpful metaphor that the virus works as a psychic glue, connecting everyone, is technically all you need to know. And I mean it. If you want the joining explained, that's it. And there's a reason for that. Pluribus isn't trying to be hard sci-fi. It's not The Expanse. Vince Gilligan has explicitly stated he wanted to create an anti-zombie story. In The Walking Dead, the horror is that your neighbor wants to eat you. In Pluribus, the horror is that your neighbor wants to help you. To make that work, the science only had to be semi-plausible. It just needs to be real enough to get us to the character drama. The virus doesn't need to be biologically perfect. It just needs to be a clever delivery
Again, look at just the way this is shot. This is so Vince Gilligan.
Mechanism for the show's central question. Is humanity meant to fight for the right to be miserable on its own terms?
Yes! That is Mr. Andrew saying, is Vince Gilligan a libertarian, do you think? I mean, I don't know if he would call himself a libertarian, but clearly the themes in this show so far, after 5 episodes, are very, very libertarian. That it's better to live a life where you can choose the wrong thing than being forced into the right answer. Yeah, I mean, if there's one thing you cannot say about Vince Gilligan TV, is that it don't look good. It looks great.
But we are humans, nerdy ones at that. What are the chances we won't take a closer look? Having a shaky grasp of the science doesn't change where we're going, but it might make the ride more interesting. So, for those of you who do want to know exactly how the world ended, not metaphorically, but mechanically, I've gone through the freeze frames and the notes so you don't have to. But let's be clear, I am not a scientist. I'm just a guy who watches TV and has Google. So while I'm gonna...
So he's gonna go through some of the science stuff that, again, not super relevant to watching the show, but just interesting to be like, oh, this is what this is about. And then we're going to talk about Carol, because I've got thoughts.
Present this,
and you don't need to know this. You don't need to have watched the show to understand what I'm going to say.
This information with the unearned confidence anyone with a mid-sized YouTube audience has. Please remember that my qualifications come from rewatching, not biology.
It's set in modern day. So I mean, there is there is some flashback stuff where they're discovering like what is coming through space that eventually becomes the virus. But yeah, modern day.
I guess what I'm saying is no one needs to get all Carol about it. But if you are scientifically inclined, feel free to share any additional information in the comments. Now let's look at the architecture of the assimilation. The narrative doesn't actually start with Carol in the bar. It starts 439 days earlier in the silences.
Yeah, so this is before the joining, as they call it, when the virus hits. It starts 439 days, which is about 14 months. But yeah, everything is modern day.
Space. The signal that started it all originated from a star system 600 light years away. Now, the distance here is actually a great detail. If that signal traveled at the speed of light, it was sent 600 years ago. That means the aliens who sent it didn't know about iPhones or nuclear weapons or Breaking Bad. They sent it during our 15th century. It was a seed broadcast into the void, waiting for a civilization advanced enough to build a radio telescope, but foolish enough to build what the signal told them to. And it wasn't just noise. It repeated every 78 seconds, a clear sign of artificial origin, and it wasn't binary code. The scientists at the Very Large Array threw out the term quaternary. Binary uses 2 digits, 0 and 1. Quaternary is base 4. And when the astronomer who discovered it realized they wouldn't put that much effort into sending it only to make it hard to understand, he realized what it was. The scientists realized the 4 tones didn't represent numbers. They represented biological building blocks: guanine, uracil, adenine and cytosine, GUAC. The aliens didn't send a message saying hello. They sent a
They sent a message saying guac.
zip file with the makings of a biological agent. Think of an exe file attachment that shows up in your email box that you know you definitely, under no circumstances, should
Don't
ever
click it.
By
Don't click
transmitting
it.
the sequence for a specific RNA strand, they effectively teleported a virus across the galaxy. Something akin to information panspermia, which is a fancy way of saying they emailed us a ticking bomb. And when it comes
Yup. And shout out to How I Met Your Mother again. There was an episode about online dating, and Barney's like, I did a bunch of logarithms and and Ted cuts him off. It's like, bro, I was gonna make a joke about my log and get into a rhythm. God, I love that show. Anyway.
panspermia, which is a fancy way of saying they emailed us a ticking bomb. And when it comes to something like that, humanity always be clicking. Fun fact, this opening sequence was shot at the Very Large Array, which is basically located in the middle of nowhere in the New Mexico desert and part of the National Radio Astronomy Observatory. The dishes you see the pickup truck race past aren't optical telescopes that see visible light. Instead, they see the universe in the radio part of the electromagnetic spectrum. The Very Large Array name is literal. It consists of 27 individual radio antennas that are arranged in a giant Y pattern on railroad tracks, allowing them to be moved to different configurations. By combining the signals, the VLA acts as a single gigantic telescope with a resolution far greater than any single dish could achieve. This allows it to study things like the birth and death of stars, supermassive black holes, galactic nuclei, pulsars, and all sorts of other cool sounding things.
So there's so much in this show that is, obviously it's sci-fi, fantasy, fiction. But there is a lot of this is based in real science, and similar to with Breaking Bad, a lot of the science of the drugs and stuff was they what's the word I'm looking for? Reference? No. What's the word I'm looking for? When you go to an expert, I don't know. They consulted. There we go. They consulted experts. They consulted law experts in Better Call Saul, and here they've got, I guess, alien virus space experts.
Nuclei, pulsars, and all sorts of other cool sounding things. The Very Large Array is also famous in popular culture as the setting for the film Contact, based on the novel by Carl Sagan. In Pluribus' a scene where we see astronomers gathering to discuss the signal, the show hired real scientists who worked there to do the cameos. USAMRIID, the United States Army Medical Research Institute of Infectious Diseases, another real-world location where some real scientists were hired for the montage, synthesized this molecule, proving once again that curiosity is one of humanity's greatest vulnerabilities.
There you go, Arrow. You and Dad could hang out and have a good time watching it.
They printed the virus from the alien blueprint, assuming a biosafety level 4 facility could hold it. Spoiler alert, it couldn't. The breach didn't happen with an explosion. It happened because of a rat. About 42 days before the world ended, a test subject, a simple lab rat, did something rats aren't supposed to do. It appeared to die. Now, there is a popular theory online that this was a Trojan rat, that the virus gave the animal the intelligence to fake its own death, specifically to lure the researcher into opening the cage, which would make the virus seem deviously smart, but personally, that wasn't my interpretation. It's a fun idea, but we never get confirmation from the showrunners that the rat was acting. What we do see later is that when the virus fully activates in humans, it causes a massive seizure. It seems far more likely that the rat wasn't playing dead, it was seizing. It was in the middle of its own joining. When the researcher reached in, she just happened to interrupt the process, and the rat reacted by following its new biological imperative. It bit her, it infected her.
That's what I think. I don't think it was playing dead. Like the virus is just here, and then they have a biological imperative to spread it, and that's why you see them. That you saw licking the donuts and kissing people, and that's how it originally was spreading. And then some other shit happened where they had to go ham.
Whether it was a master plan or just bad timing, the result was the same. The virus found its target host. Once inside, it acts as a lysogenic virus. Unlike something like Ebola, which destroys cells to replicate, a lysogenic virus integrates into the host genome. It becomes part of you. That's why the researchers didn't get sick. They just got a happy new outlook. The transmission vector was saliva, but the show avoids the usual zombie stuff here. The infected don't get all bitey. They kiss you, they swap spit, they lick donuts, and they execute these actions joyfully. It reframes infection as an act of intimacy. The infected aren't mindless in the traditional sense. They're hyper-efficient. The synchronization phase we saw in the lab, where the staff moved in eerie unison, proves that the psychic glue connects them immediately.
And again, this is an allegory, not explicitly. Like, I'm not saying that it's necessarily written to be this, but I'm saying it maps on 1-to-1 with the woke left, cultist, communist, collectivist. It 1-to-1. So many of these scenes are cool. And again, this isn't. That's why I said like there's minor spoilers here, because this is all stuff from the first episode where it's just like, okay, what's going on here? And so it just tells you all this stuff right away. And then because it does such a good job of establishing the world, then it's Verticles. It says it's just such a good job of establishing the universe of the show. Then the rest of the time you can spend a lot of screen time with the character of Carol, who again we'll talk about. And I think there's a reason. A lot of people, especially before we found out something traumatic about her past, a lot of people did not like the main character, and I have a theory as to why that is. So let's get to that. And I think you guys are in agreement with me.
They became working parts of a biological super machine, executing a plan to cultivate and seed the virus while preparing for phase 2.
And again, all of these used to be different humans, but now they all share one hive mind.
As Zosha explains to Carol in the second episode, they'd been peacefully bringing in thousands of new individuals daily for over a month until the military discovered them. Then to avoid even more bloodshed, they had to accelerate the process. The culmination of the peaceful silent spread wasn't gradual. It was an instantaneous global event. From what we see on screen, they moved from saliva to aerosol transmission. When Carol sees the weirdly uniform contrails from planes in the sky outside the bar, they actually are chemtrails delivering the virus at a global scale. As the countdown clock that framed the events of the first episode of the series hit 0, the joining is all but complete, and Carol's wife Helen becomes an early casualty. In the bar scene with Carol,
this what the entire maybe more than half, but at least half of that first episode is just like exactly what you want from a scary monster-esque, alien-esque virus is taking over. I don't know what's going on. Exactly what you want. And then I wouldn't say, because he said he wants to make the anti-zombie show. I wouldn't say he flips it on his head, but it's so different. It's so different. The way the show is written is going to appeal to collectivists and libertarians. That is ironically, the only way that I first saw this as like being not political, but again, an analog for politics is because, for those who don't know, I talk, since none of you guys care about what I watch on TV most of the time, my TikTok is all videos that I make about stuff that I'm watching. And the first video that I made on Pluribus, someone was in the comments like, it's a good show, but I don't know, it's conservative coded saying that collectivism is bad. And I was like, well, damn, now I like it even more.
Every patron gets infected at the exact same moment. When they fall, it isn't just a fainting spell. It's a neurological reboot. The seizure represents the moment of bootstrapping, where individual consciousness is overwritten or merged into the collective. The physical convulsion is likely the result of the body's hardware reacting to the new software installation. This loss of individual control mirrors the societal shift that's happening, and that the show will continue to explore. Unlike a normal seizure that leaves you confused and groggy, the survivors of the joining stand up with immediate clarity. They aren't disoriented. They're repurposed. They recognize each other instantly because they're no longer strangers. They're us. But while the hive mind claims...
Yeah, but us is just, again, everyone's consciousness, everyone's knowledge, everyone's memories in one place. And so they're all sharing that collected hive mind. Scary, scary. Before you know anything about it, it's already scary.
To be benevolent, the transition has a cost, a massive one. The show establishes a grim statistic which is hard to overlook. Approximately 886 million people died during the joining. That's nearly a billion people, or 11% of the world's total population, snuffed out in an instant. These deaths weren't caused by a bad reaction from the virus being toxic. They were collateral damage. People seized while driving on the highway. Surgeons seized in the middle of operations. People were riding bicycles, operating heavy machinery. You get the idea. The mechanism...
Mr. Andrew's not going to stick around for my thoughts on Carol. All right. Thank you so much for hanging out. Very good to see you all. ideologies and such are welcome here, and I'm glad you had fun. Please do hit that subscribe. Again, guys, I am live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and sometimes whenever I feel like it, like right now, hit that subscribe. And you know that YouTube sucks with those notifications, so don't just hit the button. Ring that bell. Thank you, thank you, thank you so very, very much. Yeah, there's, I don't want to say too much. But you're on the right track, Angry.
Of death was the incapacitation itself. You could call them changeover casualties if you want to view global tragedy through a bureaucratic lens, or you could be more cynical like Carol pointed out. Well, you gotta break some eggs. The Hive might opt for metaphysical comforts, claiming the consciousness of those who died during the event was uploaded to the collective before biological death, which we did see with Helen. Still, for survivors like Carol, it's just loss on an unimaginable scale, and the ends don't justify the means. This event draws a sharp line in the sand. Before the joining, humanity was a mess of competing individuals. After the joining, the world is efficient, peaceful, and unified. Crime is gone, war is over, but the cost is the death of nearly 1 billion people and the erasure of free will for everyone else.
Now, a lot of people see this. So the show opens up with Carol she's a writer, and she writes these like lowbrow smut things with like a what'd you call it, like a bowl that's got a giant dick and it saves the princess and that kind of shit. And so she's doing a reading, and we can see that she is unhappy with that. And there's not a big scene, but a scene about how she's like, just throwing it away, showing that she doesn't respect it, that she doesn't respect her fans and all that stuff. And that is meant to frame her as like unhappy and miserable. Even in the the tagline for the show, it says the most miserable woman in the world. So that already gets people being like, oh, I'm probably not going to like her. She's not happy. She's not bubbly. But it's insane because, as we just saw, her entire way of life was just destroyed in one night. Her wife was freaking... her wife was freaking murked right in front of her. And the entire world is now communist. And she doesn't know what to do. She doesn't know anybody. She doesn't know anything that's going on. And so she's understandably like, what's going on here? And she's understandably not happy about it. And a lot of people are like, oh, she's blah, 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 she's this. I'm like, my theory is that the people who don't like Carol, this woman who is experiencing the invasion of the body snatchers, lost her wife, has no idea what's going on, and is not happy. The reason that the viewers don't like Carol is because they would be acting exactly the same way. They would be acting the same exact way. And it is the biggest example of projection that I have seen in all my days. We are all Carol. We would all be like, fuck you guys. I don't have to do nothing with that. I want the world back the way it was. And she's right. She is a bit stodgy, but who the fuck isn't? She's fucking real. I wouldn't be happy. Would you not be stodgy? That would be weird. I think the typical lefty feminist would be like, well, guys, listen, I know that I'm the white woman, so let's see what you guys need. No, cows are like, yo, we're the only ones left. We're the only ones that are immune. There's only 13 of us. We got to work together. We got to get our fucking world back. So, just saying, if you watch the show and you don't like Carol, it's because you don't like something about yourself.
Nice apocalypse, sure, but it's still an apocalypse, and one that no one willingly signed up for. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, wait a minute, is any of this biologically possible, scientifically sound, you're not alone. The show's subreddit was flooded with actual scientists weighing in on the premise, and surprisingly, they weren't tearing it apart. This is where the show's commitment to technical anchors really pays off. The writers clearly did their homework, or at least hired people who did. They brought in science advisors, including real-world virologists, to make sure the procedures were realistic, even if the alien tech was pure magic. It's a technique Gilligan used throughout Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. If you watch someone who looks like they know what they're doing do something, it creates a sense of legitimacy. One Reddit user claiming to have a PhD in virology.
Again, you can pause almost any fucking scene of this show, and it looks beautiful.
pointed out that while the transition from a radio signal to a biological virus was abrupt, the show absolutely nailed the hubris of the researchers. They pointed towards the accurate depiction of the BSL-4 safety breaches, like the failure of the buddy system, as realistic human error. It turns out even when we're dealing with alien code, we still behave like humans. Another
People are people.
user identifying as a radio astronomer said they literally screamed at the screen during the opening sequence because the depiction of the signal detection felt so authentic. It seems the show got the texture of the science right, even if the message is pure fantasy at this point. The scientists also praised the writers for using uracil instead of thymine, guac instead of G-Tech. That correctly identifies the virus as RNA-based rather than DNA-based. It's a small blink and you'll miss it detail that meant nothing to me on first watch, but it apparently earned massive credibility points with the people who actually know what they're looking at. There is one thing.
Okay, that's like, well, obviously if it's DNA, then it can't, DNA doesn't change DNA. That wasn't surprising to me at all. Maybe I'm a little bit smarter than the average bear, boo-boo. But I was like, oh yeah, RNA, that makes sense, because then RNA makes DNA, and okay, whatever.
Scientists couldn't explain away, and that's the speed. A virus rewriting a host behavior in minutes or causing a synchronized global seizure is biologically impossible. Apparently, pathogens need time to replicate. There are also a lot of unanswered questions about how the civilization that created the virus were able to tailor it for our population, things the show isn't guaranteed to ever answer. But this is where the idea of using a strategy of ambiguity makes sense. Writer Gordon Smith has stated that explaining the exact mechanics of the hive mind, how thoughts travel between bodies without latency, would render the show meaningless. Is it quantum entanglement? Is it telepathy? The writers aren't telling, and honestly, they don't need to.
Absolutely. And the beauty of that is, again, because they are setting up the parameters of what this is and is not, they do it well enough that most of the show is spent on how is Carol dealing with this. And I am almost positive that she's going to have such a huge character arc that everybody's like, oh, she's stodgy, she's a Karen, she's this. But by the end of the show, everybody's going to love her. And I will have been right the entire time, like I am about everything. But you guys have to go and watch it.
They've deliberately left the mechanism as a black box. By refusing to turn the show into a technical manual, or if we're talking about boxes, a mystery box that's meant to be solved, they keep the focus exactly where it belongs, on the character drama. Because once we knew exactly how everything worked, the wonder would be gone.
Right. And the beauty of the show isn't like, what is the virus? Like, yes, that's a big part of it, like what's going on and stuff. But again, it's the exploration of what would a normal person do in such a fantastical scenario. And by framing it that way, it's grounded. It's, I mean, no, they should be fucking paying me. But that being said, hit me up. If you don't have Apple TV, I'll show you exactly what you need to see. I almost said something I'm not allowed to say, but you know what I mean. But no, I genuinely want this to be a cultural thing. We don't have this aspect of people experiencing the same things, whether it's the same movies, the same music, any of that stuff. And that is a problem. That is when we talk about the eroding of our culture. It's not just because kids are trans and gay is whatever. That's not the only aspect of culture. We have to have shared culture. We have to have a thing that we all like. Whether you're a collectivist or a leftist or a MAGA or a libertarian or whatever, there has to be other things about America and American culture, namely pop culture, that brings us together. No, I don't listen to the Bible fans. Sorry.
Because once we knew exactly how everything worked, the wonder would be gone. The others appear to have built a perfect world by erasing the friction of individuality. But that kind of perfection feels unnatural. I mean, it is literally unnatural, at least on the Earth that we know, and even the most advanced systems have bugs. For an organism that's designed for total synchronization, deviations and anomalies are a big deal. Out of the billions of people who remain after the joining, we only know of 13 who are immune by the end of the show's 2-part premiere. That's a number that's so staggeringly small that it feels like it borders on magic too. When the high
think about the COVID days. It really did feel like everybody in the world, without the, let's say outside of the internet, you go out into the world and it felt like everybody was one of them. It felt like everybody was one of them. That is why I love this so much.
First explains what's going on to Carol, they admit they don't know why. They just say they're dedicated to figuring out why she's different so they can fix it, so that she and the other 12 unjoined can join them. After losing Helen, Carol is uniquely placed as an adversary for universal harmony. She isn't a soldier or a scientist. She's a cynical, heavy-drinking romance novelist who calls her own work mindless crap. At the same time, she doesn't seem just like the kind of person who is miserable with their situation. She seems like she might be borderline incapable of experiencing happiness at all. In a world of non-consensual and forced happiness.
Again, incapable of experiencing happiness at all. Does that not sound like so many people today? Does that not sound like so many people?
Is miserable with their situation. She seems like she might be borderline incapable of experiencing happiness at all. In a world of non-consensual and forced happiness, her refusal to give up the things that make her her, to not smooth the rough edges of personality for the sake of social harmony, make her relatable. This is where Pluribus really starts to click. It takes a high-concept sci-fi premise and boils it down to a character study. The joining isn't just about virally induced biological transmutation, if that's even the right term, or alien technology. It's about how a truly human character responds to something like the joining after it happens. And it all might seem a little too lopsided in the collective mind's favor, but the show got ahead of that. Carol isn't just a grumpy, privileged, but also kind of relatable, reluctant hero. She's also packing some heat. When she exhibits extreme negative emotions and unloads her rage or grief on them, it triggers a physical reaction from the hive.
You know, like the wokies do. Like if you say the wrong word, they spaz out and die. It's 1-to-1. It's 1-to-1. This is literally what happens when she yells.
Loads her rage or grief on them. It triggers a physical reaction from the hive. It causes them to seize up or glitch out, much like what happened to humanity during the joining. It's painful for them, and that's just the beginning of the costs. We know that one of her outbursts killed 11 million of them, so yeah, it balances things out. They are forced to...
And can you tell me that it is not an allegory for the constant victimization and sensationalization of bad things? It's like, oh no, it's the end of the world. 11 million people are gonna die if you say the N-word. I mean, it's just perfect.
Handle Carol with extreme care, but the cost isn't any easier to overlook, even if you think they're no longer human. And as much as it dictates how they interact, they've made it plain that their biological directive means that they're working overtime trying to figure out how to bypass the immunity and assimilate the 13 unjoined. So the show doesn't succeed because its science is accurate, but because the philosophical questions that arise from the world it's reshaped can be profound, or even more than that, just a lot of fun to think about. The mechanics of the signal and the virus are necessary details that provide enough support to carry the weight of the psychological conflict. By focusing on the details of the how of the way the virus spreads, the donuts, the kissing, the synchrony, the 4-tone code, the show merges the magical elements with the mundane, making the leap you have to make to accept a global hive mind manageable and to make it feel earned. Is suffering worth saving? Are members of the hive still human if the self has been erased? These are the types of questions the show wants us to wrestle with. Giving up control for the greater good, the value of autonomy. The real story is about what would happen if we were forced to decide. And I think that's a great place to leave things.
I think that is a great show that we should all be watching. So, yeah, that is my free advertising for Apple. But like I said, there's ways to enjoy without a subscription. If you need to know that, then find me, and I will make sure that we are all on the same page. This is our American culture at stake. Our American culture is at stake. I want to thank you guys for hanging out on this chill Sunday afternoon. Damn, we went almost 2 fucking hours. I'm like, yeah, let me just do a short one. I always just go and go and go and go. But thank you guys so very, very much for hanging out. Get rid of these here. Big shout out to Arrow and Rage Page for donating. Hopefully you guys are. And I will see you tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern. Thank you. Again, we've got our boy Morty over here that's sleeping. I'm not even going to wake him up. And I am, of course, am your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until next time, guys, we are out of here. Peace.